have laid out in front of me all of the makeup products that I finished in the year 2023. This is the largest, by far, makeup empties year I've ever had. And a big reason for that is because in the previous year, in 2022, I was more focused on like using everything and being really thorough in wearing everything that I had and getting a really good working knowledge of my collection. So a lot of the stuff that I was bringing into 2023 was very well loved. I also have quite a few travel sizes in here, so they are much smaller than a full size. Most of these I've had for multiple years and have worn and loved them throughout the years. Just wanted to clarify that. And I am going to be shifting a little bit in 2024 and focusing more on, again, just loving everything I have, having a really good working knowledge of the products that I own. So let's get started. I'm going to do eyes, lips, face. I sort of have it already categorized. So I'm going to focus on the products up here. These are the eye products. Okay, I tried to zoom you in a little bit. These are all of the eye products that I finished in 2023. I was able to finish an eyeshadow quad fully. This was the Pillow Talk quad from Charlotte Tilbury. I already had pan on a few of the shades and I'd already reached for this palette a ton. And even still, it took me almost an entire year to finish all 4 shades. I do count them each as their own individual empty, so this is 4 empties to me, just because I did have to work really hard to finish each of the shades. And this has really turned me off from ever doing a pan that palette or anything like that. As much fun as it would be in theory, I just don't think that that would make me very happy long term. I think it would be a little too restricting. I've had my fill. I got it out of my system. I'm really glad I did. It was fun to pan while I had it, but I'm probably not going to be doing any pan that palettes in the future. I do also have 2 single shadows. This was ABH Stone and this was shredded from the Colourpop Go and Coconuts palette. This shade was just a matte cream color that I used to set my eyeshadow primer, and this was a really light gray brown color that I used mostly as a contour. I don't really go through full eyeshadows that often, so to have gone through 6 in a year's time to me is pretty impressive. I went through one eyeshadow primer. It's this NYX glitter primer. I really liked this. I already repurchased it because it's just so good at what it does. I love wearing this for really metallic shades or glitters or anything like that. I also used it as its own just regular eyeshadow primer too, and it worked fine for that, but it took forever. I've had this I think for like 4 years. I went through 4 eyeliners. 3 of them were pencils and 1 of them was a liquid liner. The one from Colourpop, this was in the shade Numero Uno, which was a black, and I had this for several years. It technically could have still kept going, but I had had it open and I had used it for so many years that I thought it was getting to be a bit unhygienic, so I did consider it an empty. And then I have 2 of the Essence liners. One was in Black Love and the other one was in But First Espresso. One was a black, one was a brown. These were great. They're very creamy. I have loved these. I don't think that these are the only ones that I've gone through, but I do have a couple other different brands of eyeliners in my collection right now, so I don't need to run out and get these anytime soon, but these are really great, and they're like $4 at the drugstore. And then this one from Charlotte Tilbury, I think was in the shade Classic Brown. It was just a regular sharpenable pencil. This one wasn't as creamy, but I still really liked it. I like having non-black eyeliners. I think they just look a little bit softer and a little bit more balanced on my features and on my color story, and I really enjoyed this. I think I got this in like a mystery box or something, and if another one of these came into my life, I would not be mad. Went through 2 brow gels. I really like the Essence one. This one was in the shade Soft Blondie Brows? Yeah, Blondie Brows, which is the lightest of the 3, and I really love this. I love how small the brush is. I love that there's a few fibers in there, but it's not a heavy, thick, goopy formula. And so if I ever wanted a tinted brow gel, I'd probably go back to this one. I did try the NYX Thick It Stick It one because I'd heard so many good things about it, but I did not like this at all. This was one of my least favorite things that I used in 2023. The spoolie is pretty big, and this is just really thick and gloopy. It is tinted. It does have the fibers in it too, and I did not enjoy this. Too gloopy, too sticky, too heavy. I'm using a clear brow gel right now from Milk, and I like that one so much better. I just don't really need a super heavy duty brow gel. And I have 2 brow pencils. One is from Milani, and that one is in the shade Taupe, and then I have one from CoverGirl in the shade Honey Brown. Honey Brown was a little bit more of a warmer brown, so it was good when I had a lot of red in my hair, but now that I'm just back to my natural color, which is like a darker blonde, like a lighter brown. I do prefer more cool toned taupey shades, not shapes. These were both micro pencils. I really like the formula of both of them. But I have lots of taupe micro brow pencils in my collection currently, so I don't need to run out and get either of these anytime soon. And now for mascaras, I had 3 or 4 that I really liked, and then I had one that I did not like at all. I loved this one from Charlotte Tilbury, the Legendary Lashes. I don't typically go for these bigger, softer bristle brushes, but I just really liked this one. Alternatively, I think I like the Pillow Talk push-up lashes just a little bit more because I prefer the rubber bristle brushes that are a little bit spikier. This one was kind of cool because it was like flat, but then it had a wider portion of it, so that was kind of cool. I could like lay on a lot of product and then use the shorter bristle side to comb through them, and yeah, I really liked this one. I definitely like it more than Legendary Lashes, but they were both great. The other 2 mascaras that I liked had similar wands. They had like more of a spiky rubber bristle brush. This one was good. This is the Man Eater from Tarte. And then I really liked the Super Fanned Out mascara from Smashbox. This one is for the people out there who like a more natural lash. I thought this was really nice for that. It helped separate them, it helped lift them a little bit, and it just made my lashes look a lot more wispy. It doesn't really do a lot for volume or length. And then the one I did not like was this one from M Cosmetics. It's called the Pick Me Up Mini Mascara. And even though I did think I would like the rubber bristle brush on this, I didn't like the formula at all. It was really gloopy and heavy and wet, and it never really dried out after a while, which most mascaras do. It weighed them down, it made them clump together. It just didn't do anything that I would want a mascara to do to my lashes. So those were all of the eye products. Now let's move on to lip products. All right, so I did finish 2 of these lip balms from NYX. These have been longtime favorites. I usually go through a couple every year. I think I only have 1 left in my collection, and I have come upon a lot of other lip balms out there over the years that I really like too. So I'm not gonna purchase these anytime soon, but they are really good. I still definitely recommend them. And then I have 6 lip glosses, which I can guarantee you none of these were like full at the beginning of the year. And I took the stopper out of all of these. So I have 4 of the Collagen Lip Ads from Charlotte Tilbury. These are a long-time favorite. I love these. I think I mentioned in my last Empties video, which by the way, if you want to know like how many uses it took for me to finish these, I do usually give those numbers in my Empties videos. And so if you want more like makeup math, you'll definitely get those in my Empties videos. And these are really great because they are they're thick and they stay on the lips. And so these are like my gym proof lips. I put these on my lips before I go like work out or something, and they are still on my lips after I'm done, even after all the sweating and everything. So they're just a really reliable staple in my life, and I don't have any more of these, but I do have a lot of glosses, a lot of really thick lip balms that I can use in this place right now. The Lawless Forget the Filler lip glosses, those are really similar. This one from Milani, this is very similar. This is the Keep It Full gloss. Very good, not gonna repurchase any immediately. And then I have this Bare Minerals lip gloss. It was in the shade Vision. It was a light pink, I really liked it. And I did like the formula too, but not as much as the lip ads, not as much as some of the other lip glosses that I have, so I'm not going to repurchase this one immediately. I have a series that I do every December called Litmus, where I take 1 lip product and I do a short, and I feature it and I swatch it and I talk about the ingredients and everything like that. So if you want more in-depth information about any of these lip products, there is a chance that I likely have it somewhere in my Litmus playlist, so I will have that linked. And then I went through 3 liquid lipsticks, but I didn't use these on my lips. I have 2 mini Stila ones, one in Perla and one in Bocce, and then I have a liquid lipstick from Nabla in the shade Sweet Gravity. I actually use these as cream blush mixers, and I loved them for that, and these were great. I so enjoyed these. I also finished 4 lip pencils. This one from Urban Decay is in the shade Bittersweet. It was like a really warm purple. I actually used this also as a cream blush mixer. And then I have 3 nude lip pencils. One was NYX Sugar Glass, the other one was NYX Nude Suede Shoes, and then I have Pillow Talk from Charlotte Tilbury. These are all great. If you want something a little bit creamier, you can go for the Slide On Glide On lip pencils from NYX. If you want something a little bit stiffer, then the one from Charlotte Tilbury is good. And then these are my lip stick lip clicky pens, gloss hybrid, lipstick, lip balm hybrid products. I fell in love with these last year, so it is no surprise that I went through so many. The majority of these I really, really loved. I didn't love the Lip Plump from Tarte. This is like the minty plumping version of their Maracuja Juicy Lips, only because it was super minty and super strong feeling on the lips. Like it definitely had like a burning sensation, which I didn't love. Still like the formula and the color and everything, so I finished it, but I would not get that again. Everything else here I would definitely get again. Maybe not the Hourglass one, just because it's so expensive and you get like 1.7 grams of product. I got the shade Mist, which was a really beautiful like cantaloupe color or just a melon color. Loved it. It was glossy. I did a litmus feature on this. I did a litmus feature on all of these. And then I also finished one of the mini regular Juicy Lips from Tarte. This was in the shade Rose. Really beautiful nude color. I went through Venetian Rose from M Cosmetics, and this was really, really lovely too. I very much enjoyed using it. I don't think it stands out against any of the other clicky lip pen products that I have in my collection, so I don't need to repurchase this one, but I did really enjoy it while I had it. And then these three were some of my favorite hybrid products that I tried. This one from CoverGirl was the Clean Fresh Lip Stilo. This was just a tinted lip balm in the shade Sweet Melon, and this was a gorgeous color. And I just really loved the formula. I like how it didn't taste or smell like anything. I loved how this color looked on my lips. And then this one from Ulta Beauty, this is the Gloss Stick in the shade Chill Pill. This was a really great nude shade for me. And even though it was a really lightweight, comfortable formula, it stayed really well, and it was very opaque and pigmented, and it just always made my lips feel really nourished. It didn't make them feel drier after it wore off, and it did last a long time on the lips. So this was a really great little hidden gem at the drugstore that I loved. And I also really loved and still miss Romance Kiss. This was a Hyaluronic Happy Kiss from Charlotte Tilbury. This was a really thick, probably the thickest like lipstick gloss hybrid product that I tried, and I loved it. I think the website describes this as a fondue texture, and I do think that's a really great way to describe it, and I just loved it. It was nourishing, it was pigmented, it was beautiful, it was glossy. I just loved everything about it. Some people might think it's a little messy. I did not mind that at all, and I miss it. I still miss it even after all this time. So these are all of my lip product empties for 2023. Like I said, a lot of these are minis or things that I had been wearing for years before I started to actively pan them. Now let's talk about blushes. I did finish 2 blushes in 2023. I did pan Luminoso from Milani. If you want to see me panning this, I did feature this in my project pan, and this was such a treat to use. I loved this color. I loved the formula. I do miss it a little bit, but not as much as Mood Exposure from Hourglass. This is one of my favorite blushes that I've ever tried, and I have been lucky enough to try quite a few blushes over the years, and the color was just so perfect. The way it looked on my skin, it was just so skin-like, and the color was just a beautiful flush. It went with like every look I did. It was really easy to build. I could apply a little bit, I could apply a lot, and it just never really looked overdone. I just loved it so much. I would like to get a full size of this at some point. I did finish 4 highlighters. 2 of them were cream or liquid highlighters, and 2 of them were powders. The one from the Charlotte Tilbury Film Star Bronze and Glow Duo, this one had a really big pan on it before I even started 2023, and I knew I wanted to finish it because this is one of the oldest products in my collection. I bought this back in like 2017, I think. And I loved it. It was a beautiful gold champagne shade. I have plenty of powder highlights though. I don't need to go out and purchase this one anytime soon. And if I were to get it again, I'd probably purchase the mini that they have of this. This mini Becca highlight was in the shade Champagne Pop, and I liked this one too, but I'm just not using powder highlights as often as I used to back in the day, and so I wouldn't repurchase this even though it is available for purchase now through Smashbox. I enjoyed it, but it's kind of a product of a bygone era, or just a taste, a preference that I just don't have anymore. I have really been loving liquid highlights though, which is where these 2 come in. The one from Milani, I didn't use it as just like a regular highlighter on my cheekbones. I actually use this as a mixer quite a bit. So I would use it to create cream blushes if I wanted to make them a little bit more glowy. Sometimes I would use it with like really, really matte foundations to make them a little bit more skin-like, and it was okay for that, but after a while I just kind of kept using it as a mixer just to finish it. I didn't really feel anything when I finished it. It's really just okay. I really ended up loving the Merit highlighter. This was in the shade Kava, and this one was very kind of oily, not in a bad way, but it just had a very emollient formula. I don't really love using products like that just on my cheekbones. I like for my cheeks to feel set. I don't want them to feel sticky or balmy at all. And so if you like that, you would probably really like it, but I really loved using this as a mixer too. And I think that this just left such a beautiful finish in anything I mixed it with. So it made a really beautiful cream blush. I also mix this sometimes with foundations. Sometimes I would just use it as a glowy primer, like on the tops of my cheeks. I really came to love this. I think because there isn't any real sparkle to it, the reflect in it is very just sophisticated to me. I'm not sure how to explain it. And then I did finish 2 bronzers and 1 contour product. I really liked the contour wand from Charlotte Tilbury. At first, I was not understanding the hype, and then once I used it more regularly, I realized I do very much enjoy this, to the point where I did repurchase this during the Black Friday sales last year. I love it. It's kind of got a more watery texture, and even though it does look like it'll be really dark when you first apply it, it does blend out so nicely. Everything about the undertone, the level of pigment, how easy it is to blend, I just really love it. And they take forever to go through. Like, this took me a long time to actually finish. So I do feel like they are, I don't want to say they're worth the money, because they are like, I don't even know, $48 or something like that. So I will always try to get this on sale or as part of like a set for a lower price. But I did like it enough to buy it again. And I don't really own a lot of cream or liquid contours, so it's like this is the only one that I have. And then these 2 bronzers were lovely. I wish they still made this one from Bare Minerals. This was the Invisible Bronze in Fair to Light. This was a baked product, and it was just so beautiful. It reminds me a lot of the Hourglass powders. I'm sad that I can't buy this again. And then the Nabla Ombre bronzer was very similar. This was also a baked product, a little bit more pigmented than the Bare Minerals one, but I really like this too. If I didn't already have a bunch of bronzers, and if there weren't other bronzers that I was really eager to try out, I would repurchase this. I think it's a great, slightly more affordable bronzer out there. So those are all of the cheek products that I finished this year. These setting sprays, I'm afraid that they're gonna fall off of the side of the table, so I'm gonna talk about these first. I love setting sprays. I use them every time I do my makeup. I think they are a staple. Were a couple that I didn't really like though, so I'll talk about those first. This one from Milk, this was the Hydro Grip Set and Refresh Spray. This was a mini. It did leak everywhere, so I didn't love that. It was one of those Biophase ones where it had like an oily texture at the top and then a liquid at the bottom, so you would shake it before you apply it. I don't typically go for like the dewy sprays. I typically go for a setting, mattifying spray, and so this one just was not for me. And also the fact that it leaked, I didn't like that. It's like everywhere. Also didn't love the Jasmine Mist from Besame. This one smelled really strong. I'm assuming it smelled like jasmine, but I don't actually know what jasmine smells like. The sprayer on this was beautiful. I love that it's in a glass bottle. Like, no complaints about the packaging, but there's only like, what, an ounce in here? 1.08 ounces, and it's like $30-something, so it's super expensive, and I don't think it actually did anything for my skin. Like, the actual quality of the setting spray, it didn't do what I wanted it to do. It was just very expensive and didn't really do a ton. Also did not like the No Filter setting spray from Colourpop. This one had a weird sediment at the bottom of it that I ended up taking out because I couldn't stand it. This one smelled weird. It smelled like Lemon Pledge. And again, I don't think it really did anything to actually set my makeup, help it last longer, anything. So this one I did like, but this is the Dewy Coconut Setting Mist from e.l.f. This smelled like coconut, which was really nice. This was whenever I wanted to take the powdery look down on my makeup or just help my makeup melt together, but I wasn't super worried about my makeup lasting all day. I would also sometimes use this on my skin before applying moisturizer. That was really nice too. This was good. I don't think I'm gonna run out and repurchase it again, but I did really enjoy it while I had it. And then these are my 3 favorite setting sprays. I mean, the All Nighter from Urban Decay. This one just goes without saying. I've probably had this in every single Empties video since I started my channel back in 2017, so I probably don't need to go on about how much I love this. I really liked the e.l.f. one. I feel like the e.l.f. performed very similarly to the all-nighter. I really liked how this smelled. I didn't love that there was a metal ball in there. I feel like that's just very loud and annoying, and I understand why it's there. It's to make sure everything gets mixed up, but it's not exactly my favorite, but I still really liked this. I would consider purchasing this again. And then one that I was really surprised I liked as much as I did was this Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Setting Spray Party All Night Stay All Day. I loved the scent. I loved how this performed. This one is for the person who wants to set their makeup and have it last, doesn't mind that slightly tight feeling that some setting sprays give you, but still wants a skin-like finish. You don't want to be mattified. You want your skin to have like a little bit of a healthy glow. It's not dewy in a greasy way. Trust me, I do not like an oily complexion. I go for more of a soft matte skin-like finish, little bit of a glow, but not too much. And they also sell these in bigger bottles, so you can get a bigger size for a slightly reduced price per ounce. And I just really love this. I have a mini of it now. I have a mini of the regular and of the white tea of Bali one, and I love them both. Now let's talk about primers. I went through a surprising amount of primers this year. Most of them were minis or almost finished, but let's talk about them. So I really loved these Primed and Peachy primers from Too Faced. I went through 2 of them. I purchased a few of the minis once I realized that they weren't making this anymore. I do like a mattifying primer for the most part, and these were just so nice. They did feel a little cooling when you put them on at first, and they had more of like a soft velvety texture, but they weren't those really heavy silicone feeling ones. Like I would put this on and I would smooth it out, and it didn't really feel like there was anything on my skin, which I love. And I do think it helped keep me more matte throughout the day, and I wish they still made these. These are nice. Another mattifying one that I really loved was this one from Tarte. It was the Timeless Smoothing Primer. This one did have a little bit more of a silicone feeling, but it was more dry, so it didn't feel heavy or greasy on your skin. You could blend it in. I usually started in little sections, and then it would again set and not really feel like anything. This was definitely for those long days. This was for the special occasions, for the days that I wanted my makeup to stay. This was definitely something I knew I could rely on, and I do like that they sell them in minis. I would probably get another mini of this. The rest of them are like glowy primers. I do have 2 sunscreen primers. This one from e.l.f., the Woe Glow Suntouchable. I didn't like this. I felt like it was really heavy for only being SPF 50. Like I can understand it, or SPF 30, I mean. For an SPF 50 product, maybe I can understand that they're gonna feel a little bit heavier, but this one was literally just okay. Didn't love it. Also, this little mini, this tiny little tube, was $5. I thought it was gonna be a bigger tube when it came in the mail, and it's not. If you want an SPF 30 primer, this one from Milani, the SPF BFF, I loved this. This was moisturizing. Like I would use it as a moisturizer underneath my makeup. The trouble is I go through it so fast because I use enough to be an SPF on my skin that it just becomes very expensive, because I think this is like $14 or $15, and I don't even think I got an entire month's worth of use out of it. Maybe like 1.5 months, I can't remember. But I just went through it so quickly that it would be very, very expensive. So that's the only thing holding me back from buying it again. This one from Glow Recipe, this was just a mini, and it's the Watermelon Glow Niacinamide Dewdrops. I did like this. I understand why so many people love it, and I was glad to have like a little mini to try. Towards the end, I used it as a foundation mixer to make my foundations a little bit more skin-like. It's not moisturizing enough to use on your own as a moisturizer, and I don't know. It was okay, but I feel like I just am not a glowy person. Sometimes I think I am, but I think for the most part, I don't need to pile on a bunch of glowy products, because I am actively trying to fight getting really greasy throughout the day on my own, which I can with or without glowy products. So I don't know. I don't think I need to purchase this again. I'm really glad I tried it though. It was nice. This dew primer from e.l.f., again, I enjoyed it while I had it, but I don't think I need to buy it again. It smelled very fruity. It smelled like candy. And this was one of those products that's clear and you rub it in and it makes your skin feel really sticky. So some people might just hate it for that. I know a lot of people love this. I think e.l.f. brought this back because people wanted it so bad. I think what you're supposed to do is apply it and then let it dry so that it's not sticky anymore, and then put foundation on top. I tried it both ways, when it was still sticky and then after it dried down, and I didn't really notice a big difference. Again, it was okay, but I am not like a dewy primer type of person. I say that, but I have like 5 dewy primers in my collection right now, so maybe don't listen to me. But this glow primer, the Brightening Youth Glow, Brightening Color Correcting Glow Primer from Charlotte Tilbury, I adored this. I loved this so much. I love the scent, I love the texture, I love how it feels on the skin. I wore this on my wedding day. I wish they still made this. They don't make this anymore. The version that they do make that is very similar is the Wonder Glow, but that one has a golden tint to it, has a little bit of a shimmer in it, and I don't like it as much as this one because of that. So sad, RIP the Glow Primer. Charlotte Tilbury, please bring this back. I finished 4 foundations, and this one from IT Cosmetics, the Your Skin But Better CC Plus foundation, I did really like it. I would probably get the regular version if I were to purchase this again. There are so many foundations out there that I want to try that I likely wouldn't repurchase any of these, just because I do want to try some newer formulas. This one was a thicker, more creamy consistency. I really liked that it had SPF 50. That was one of my favorite things about it. It was a decent shade match. I'm in the shade Fair. And so if I were to get it again, I'd probably get a smaller travel size version of it, of the regular kind, not the Illumination kind. The NYX Total Control Pro Drops, I have the shade Light Pale, and I used this as a mixer mostly. It was very liquidy, but it had a decent amount of pigment, and it was a little bit lighter than my skin tone, so I'd use it to lighten up foundation or to make it a little bit more liquidy, but still have some pigment. I really liked it for that. I would consider getting it again. This one from Merit Beauty was the complexion stick. I was in the shade Silk, which was a really good match for me, and I did like it, but I'm not really like a makeup stick type of person. I like to have very liquidy formulas that I'm able to spread out really far. This one was very spreadable, like it's not as dry or thick as some foundation sticks can be, but it also didn't really have a ton of coverage. Like once you did blend it out, it didn't really do a lot to combat my redness. I don't think I'm the type of person that would benefit from this type of product. It's for the person on the go. It's for someone who doesn't need a lot of coverage. You need just a couple swipes of this to blend it out and even out your complexion and you're fine. Like that's just not really how I apply makeup. So even though I can appreciate it for what it is, I can also understand that I'm not really the right audience for products like this. And this one I really loved. This was the Tarte C Hydra Flex Serum Foundation. I was in the shade 12N Fair Neutral. This was very liquidy. It had light to medium coverage, and I just loved this. This is exactly what I was looking for. It was a serum foundation, but it wasn't too glowy. It just helped look really skin-like. I like a really liquidy formula that I can blend out and make it look like my skin, but still have enough pigment to actually even out any redness or any discoloration that I have on my face. And this was just so great. It was also a great mixer. I love when formulas are really easy to mix with other things because like I said, pretty much every time I put on foundation, I'm mixing at least 2, maybe 3 things together to get my ideal formula and color. This was a joy. I don't know if they make this anymore, and I'll be sad if they don't. Next up is concealers and color correctors. So I did end up going through 3 color correctors, technically 4 because the Sigma one is a duo. I did an entire video where I compared a bunch of different color correctors against each other, and as a result I did have quite a few that I tested over the past year. I really liked the one from Flower. This one is like the most waxy, more dry version, so I probably wouldn't get it again because I do have a slightly drier eye area and I'm not trying to bring attention to fine lines and stuff around there, which I think this formula does tend to bring out. But it is one of those more cost-effective versions because it took me forever to go through, and I think it's under $10. And it did have a really nice level of coverage too. The one from Tarte, this is the second one that I've gone through. I went through one of these forever ago and I really love it. It's creamy. It's a nice option for more mature skin. It has nice coverage. I still like the Charlotte Tilbury one just a tiny bit better, so I'm not going to repurchase this one, but I did really love it. I still think it's a really strong contender and I do recommend it. And same with the Sigma one. The only reason I wouldn't recommend this is because it's so expensive. It's $30 in total. You get 1.5 grams grams. One side was slightly lighter and it was a little bit more pink, powdery pink, and then one side was a little bit peachier. This is the light to medium version. This was a little bit more lighter coverage and it was more lightweight. It was a really beautiful formula. Again, the only thing holding me back is that price. Now for concealers, I did go through two Kosas concealers and I do really love this. These are creamier. They sort of melt into your skin and look like your skin. They have a decent amount of coverage. I had both the shades 3.20 and 1.5C, and I think that they both worked nicely. I love that Kosas sells minis now. I think that's a really smart move on their part because their concealers do tend to go bad more quickly. That's kind of what's holding me back from purchasing them again, but I might consider purchasing another mini in the future. This concealer from Tarte is the Hydro Sealer, also in the shade 12N Fair Neutral. So it was kind of like the concealer counterpart to that foundation that I just talked about. And even though I loved the foundation, I did not love the concealer. I feel like the concealer was too light coverage. It was very liquidy, and so it kind of just blended out to nothing. And it was just okay. Like, I loved the foundation. I really didn't love the concealer. This one from Hourglass is a mini of their Vanish Airbrush Concealer. I have the shade Cedar. And this one, at first, I didn't like at all because it's very full coverage and it's a little bit of a drier, more liquidy formula. And I was so used to the Kosas one, which is so creamy and blendable and easy to work with. This one took some getting used to. You only need a tiny little bit, and I feel like even when I used a little bit, I could still get a ton of coverage, but because it is a little bit of a drier formula, it does kind of accentuate the fine lines and wrinkles a little bit more easily than some other concealers do. So even though I did grow to like it a lot more than when I originally tried it, it's not something that I feel like I should purchase again. I really liked this one from Colourpop. I was in the shade Light 40N. This was like the perfect color for me. It had a really nice natural medium to buildable coverage and it was skin-like. It was beautiful. I really enjoyed it. And then this was another one of my favorites, one that I was surprised I liked as much as I did. It's the Makeup Revolution Eye Bright. I have the shade Light, the Illuminating Under Eye Concealer with vitamin C. And this shade Light was a perfect shade match for me. And it was a more light coverage concealer, which normally I like fuller, medium to full coverage formulas, but this one was just perfect for those days where I wasn't wearing a ton, but I still wanted to have some makeup on. And so this very much has a skin-like finish. You put this on your face and you tap it out with your fingers, and it looks like your skin. It just looks a little bit more even. And I loved it. I thought this was great. And the last category I have is powders. I have two of these refillable pans. These are from Besame. One of them was the violet shade. The other one was a light yellow shade, I think called Peggy. And I liked Peggy, but I still like violet better. That's the one that I have in my collection now. I've gone through several of them. I love that color for setting my under eyes. That's what I use these for. And I love that you can buy one compact and then buy these refillable pans over and over again to change them out once they're gone. I have a powder foundation from Makeup Revolution, and I like that they have a shade that's light enough for me but does have more of a green olive undertone. That's the shade P5.7. You don't really see that a lot in the drugstore section, so I really appreciate that. I'm wearing one from Fenty Beauty right now, and I really like that too. It's a little bit more tightly pressed. This one was a lot looser, and so you could pick up product more easily. I liked that, but sometimes if I wasn't careful, I could put on too much. I have gone through one or two of these in the past, and I would purchase it again, but I'm fine with the one from Fenty for now. I do have a couple powders here that I don't think they make anymore. I don't think they make the Charlotte Tilbury Genius powder. This one was okay. It was just like a fluffy translucent shade. And same with the Essence one. This is the My Skin Perfector in the shade Light. This one did have more of a tint to it, which I didn't love. I still really love the like truly translucent clear powders, and they both just kind of were visible on the skin. I like the RC May powder because it doesn't look like you have anything on your skin, but it still sets your makeup. And it also makes it really easy to reapply because it won't look super cakey and dry on your skin. This one is a blotting powder from e.l.f. This one was a white translucent powder, and I did really love it. I loved it for touch-ups. I kept it in my backpack for touch-ups throughout the day. I now use blotting papers instead of blotting powder, so I probably wouldn't repurchase this again. I don't know if they make it anymore either. I didn't really love the Halo Glow setting powder. I don't really love glowy powders. This one wasn't overtly glowy, like I couldn't see any glitter in it or anything. I use powder to set my foundation. I have like wet cream products on my face and I use a powder to set them, and so it needs to be something that's not going to cake up, that doesn't have a lot of sheen on its own, because my face already gets glowy on its own. So this one wasn't like mattifying enough, understandably so. It's the Halo Glow powder, so that's on me for purchasing it. It's just, if it's not like invisible on the skin, then I don't want it. I did have one exception, and that was this Peach Perfect powder from Too Faced. This one was just so good at keeping me matte that I didn't care if it was slightly visible on the skin. It was just like for heavy duty days. Even after all this time, you can still smell the peach, which I actually didn't mind. I know some people were really turned off by that. I wish they still made it. I would repurchase this if they did. And then this one from Kosas I did not like. It was a baked formula, and I feel like it hard panned all the time immediately. So I really had to scrape at it to get product on my brush. And as a result, I just had trouble like applying the perfect amount, because again, I use this to put on wet foundation, and if it isn't thin enough, it will look cakey, and this one did. If you're the type of person who just puts a tiny bit of powder like on your chin and on your T-zone, and you only apply a teeny tiny little bit, you're probably gonna really like this, but I'm a more heavy-duty powder person. I need something a little bit more substantial, you know? So this just was not for me. And that is everything that I finished in 2023. So let's talk about some numbers really quick. In 2023, I finished 89 makeup products. 21 of them were eye products, 46 of them were face products, and 22 of them were lip products. And they totaled to $1,640.36. For reference, in 2022, I went through 32 products, totaling $475. So that's a huge jump. That's a major difference between the 2 years. And I imagine 2024 will look a lot like 2022. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching. That is everything I have. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!